So, Rosani Tribe, we are live from YouTube and Facebook Live. I can see people are already just gunning at it, right? Getting into it. Like already, Nomandla is asking Coco. I was told someone wants to kill me for my luck, trying for long, but they have already created a grave for me that they put something on me. Why do people do this? People are troubled. People are sick, people are not well, and people are evil. That's why people do things that are unexplainable to us. Okay, but before we get into the topic, let's greet each other. Let us say hi. Let's greet and hear where people are coming from. So it's great. Let's greet Tawzani Bokoko na Bomkulu. It's I, Kokodino Ndlanzi. I'm tuning in live from Bukhali City. So as per usual, you come in, introduce yourself, and let us know where you're coming from. Welcome, Felicity. I see you. Mugel, Fuyiswa, welcome. Stembilo on YouTube. We've got Nomantla on YouTube from Cape Town. Niha, from Facebook. We've got Humi Mpete, we've got Nontobego Shandu, YouTube coming from YouTube. Okay. Naomi from Rustenburg, Sabelo joining us from Midrand, and Tapi is from Moore. And we've got Nosisa, Olo, we've got Naledi and Tlerefile. Greetings. We've got Apelele from Port Edward and Boiti from, okay, Nkosi. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Kilabetsui from Midrand, Lufuno from from Lufuno. Yeah, people are coming in quick. So I've started to lose track of where everybody's greeting. But welcome to tonight's conversation. It's a continuation of last week's conversation. Last week we broke down the misconceptions of witchcraft and basically trying to make people understand where the term witchcraft comes from and how we're finding ourselves in an era where we're very fearful of witches or people who the term witch is a sin, is dark and evil. And I've said before that it was not necessarily so, but in the context of where we are at in the African context, we do understand that witchcraft it's not a term that we use when we're referring to a healer of light, when we're referring to Melapi. We don't call them witches. We don't call them umtagat. So I'm not gonna go back to that teaching. If you've missed it, pretty please watch it. It will be a video after this one because it's just last week, because it'll be good for you to catch up on the two, because then you can pull the two teachings together and see what makes sense. Please remember to subscribe and on YouTube and put your notification on, so that even when you're missing, because we experiencing load shedding, you're missing that I'm going live, but immediately when you got your electricity back, you can get a notification. Please share to those whom you feel these teachings are important to, because the more we learn together, the more we become better together, right? And this is actually a good platform when you have people who don't believe in certain things, for you to introduce them without you forcing people to believe into things. Because one thing about witchcraft is that some of us don't believe in it, right? And I was like that even when Bengi Twasa. I was like, this thing. And I think partially because I kind of knew somewhat that, I have to grant people access into my space for the attacks to actually be fruitful and for them to do what they needed to do. So part of me knew that, even though I didn't know it to be what I know it to be now, until I remember being saying, I think uh yeah, 2000, early 2012, when I started getting spiritual attacks. And I'm going to share a very vivid dream that I had at the time that never left me. And the reason I'm sharing this dream is to also, as a teaching to you, that how you can distinguish between a dream as an ancestral message or a dream as an attack, because sometimes based on the misconceptions and the stereotypes that are associated to the symbols of African spirituality, they can easily be misinterpreted as symbols of darkness, but they're not necessarily symbols of darkness. So, like I'm saying, Benguya Pefreni, few months in, I think less than a year, I was out. I was sleeping in the other room. This is when I used to stay at Cosmo, and I just had two kids at the time, and two of my kids were sleeping in their room. And I remember in the dream, there was a baboon that walked into the yard, right? It wasn't a monkey, it was actually a baboon, because it was bigger than a monkey, and it walked like, because baboons walk like that. So, and it came into the yard, and it looked like it was going to my Ndumba. And I remember trying to fight it, and I was fighting it and fighting it. And as I was fighting it, I heard my eldest son scream, "Ma, Ma," and I woke up from the dream. At that time, Kudu used to work night shifts, so I was alone with the kids. So I opened my eyes. I looked at the time; it was what, after one. I got out. I went into their bedroom, and when I got there, my children were sleeping peacefully. So I was like, "Oh, okay." And immediately when I got back into bed, I literally was gone in a second. I did not I didn't have to sleep for long. The dream continued where it left off. The very clear important sign, when you are getting a spiritual attack in your dreams and it's a nightmare, there has to be some continuation, because sometimes you think that you are dreaming but you are actually experiencing the attack. So then I remember the baboon was trying to come in again, and I eventually fought it. And as I fought it, I ran into the bathroom, and I got a concussion of things that I keep in the house: mentholated spirit, cough salt, and I don't remember what else. And right, ngacela ngacela. And afterwards, then, then it was revealed, ukuthi these two people, they didn't say these are the ones who sent the attack, but these two people are people don't have the highest interest at heart for you. One was my neighbor, the other one was my helper at the time. And trust me, after I became a healer, that helper, I think, no, I think I had three kids. It was after a year, because I had some Guinness with then. Well, I don't remember all the details, but I remember after that dream, it was very difficult for my helper to return at work after the weekends. I mean, there was a time where she was gone for 2 months, and we didn't know where she was, because we didn't know where she lived. And we looked for her, and we looked for her. And I remember when I went to go see her, there were items of my house items that I never gave him. My crystals were in her house, cutlery, and a whole lot of other things were there. So basically, I have learned that just because you don't believe in things, it doesn't mean those things don't exist. I still struggled. My second spiritual attack that I had was a street, and how I knew. So listen very clearly, because as I'm talking about my experiences, this is how I teach. I teach from my lived experiences, because I have experienced it, therefore I know of it, right? Then when I know of it, I know how to teach about it. So some things, even though I have the intellectual understanding, but if I don't have the personal experiences, I can just stay here and it becomes not relatable. Because when we speak of issues of African spirituality, relatability is very important. These teachings must also be simplistic and make sense, rather than being high level and academic, because we're dealing with lives when we speak about things such as witchcraft. So, like I'm saying, just because you don't believe in it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So the day before, like a weekend before, I had a dream. We were sleeping in bed, and Mkulu made a number two on himself. So dreams of adults making a number two, or seeing number twos, are a sign of iskrit. So, and that's how I knew, right? And that's how I continuously know, Uti, when you're seeing number two of an adult, iskrit. So, and then, yeah, and I told him, I remember I told him, I was like, it was weird. Hey, I had this dream. And these are all very new from my initiation process. It's like, to us. So we came back. We were in Alex for the weekend because there was a ceremony at home, and I felt a like lethargia that my body was just extremely exhausted. I was lethargic when we came back, and I was so surprised. And I said, "Hi, baby, let me take a 2 minute nap." And as I lied down on the bed, felt like something was moving on my skin. I got up, and as I got up, there was, I don't know what they're called, yabo, but it was like a grouping of bed bugs. Bed bugs are the tsitsiri, ne? Kanje dititsiri ke? Imbungulu in Zulu. Yes, the tsitsiri imbungulu, bed bugs. There was like a stack of them on the side of the bed where I was sleeping. And we opened it because bed bugs normally hide themselves and you don't see them. So they were there, and they were just there by my sleeping corner. They were there. Immediately I got up because they are horrible and disgusting, and called Mkulu. Mkulu came in. We looked at it. Mina ngayendumbeni. Chawuzani bogogo nomkhulu ngashaya amathambo ngabhula ukuthi kwenzakalani, and I was shown ukuthi yebo kunesichitho esikhona. Then I asked ukuthi how do I deal with it, and they said kimi ungasebenzisa imithi, right? Ungasebenzisa imithi, use this and this, and this is what I did. And because they said using that I will also be shown who did that, and I was shown who did that. So from those experiences, I mean, I think the most hectic experience I had is when my first so this is when I was now being embedded in my work as a Kobela. This was in 2016. I was initiating this woman. Well, it was a group of them, and one of them was such a dreamer. I used to call her Joseph, and she would tell me that she's having very unpleasant dreams about this other fellow initiate. And because they really got into a TEF quite a lot, and I thought maybe it's also things that are in her subconscious. Because one thing about me, even now, I don't. When people tell me things, I need to connect with them, and I want to see something before I make a judgment, because sometimes people tell you based on their experiences and it's half a story, it's not a full story. Then you sign up for things that you were never part of the beginning of the discourses or the TEF between the two of them, and you find yourself in the center, right? So I remember, and I said to a Pasha Gogo, if it's happening, it's that. So I remember she came and she initiated, and when her things were popping, life was happening, she actually went and dated a guy. This is the guy I had an affair with. She went and dated that guy, and that was a healer, and that I was getting medicine from him. So she went and dated that guy, and then she started becoming arrogant, disrespectful. She was quite troublesome. I must say the red flags were there, and we see red flags in people in terms of their toxic traits, because before one can actually go take immunity, there is personality traits that are showing you this person can actually kill you. This person can actually destroy you. You could see it with their attitude, with their behaviors. So these are the warnings that we get prior to even them doing things to us. So fast forward to that, and then she left 2 a.m. because she was like, I'm not taking, your instructions anymore. You ain't that anymore. I was like, okay, it's all right, go, and we were all tired of her nonsense anyway. So she left. And interestingly, that very same woman is the one that wrote crap about me on Twitter. And I'm like, if I can tell the shenanigans and the things you were up to a petrol, but like they say, there's always two sides to a story. And sometimes you let the villains play the victims and dig their own grave while they're doing it. Let the villains play the victims, and drag your name down while they're actually digging their own grave. So she left, and I was pregnant with Susiabo because I remember one of the dreams she came, she said, oh, I dreamt you were pregnant and you sent us home because you said you want your kulisabantu. And I'm like, but that's nonsensical. Raising your kids is not a month's thing, it's not a year, it's a lifetime thing. Even when your kids are adults, you still play a parenting role. So anyway, so this woman, she left, and then I was doing graduations of the three ones. Then I started getting messages, and give me, when they come, they get consulted, and when they're done, I take them to another healer to check if there's anything else that I've missed or anything else that are supposed to be happening. So and that time I suffered from extreme lethargia. So lethargia, unexplainable exhaustion that medically, and you've done everything you could, but you still feel like tired. You can't get out of bed. You slept 8 hours. You have eaten well, but you are still feeling extremely exhausted, and nothing is wrong with your health. That's one of the signs that you are being spiritually attacked, or you are loyal. So I said to my mom, no, because I'm pregnant. And my mom called every hour and she was like, I know you. You've had 3 kids. There's no way. You've never had this exhaustion. Something is off. So now I actually know, Uguti, when I feel the lethargia. I know the difference between my tired and my abnormal tiredness. Uguti, then something is happening. Somebody is tampering with me in the spirit world. And that's how I know. I hope, Tribe, you are following. So then when I went to take this other person who was graduating, this healer said to me, "Ngiyakubona gogo ubhizi, you are focusing about taking this one home. What about the healer that just left and is bajola ngegama lakho?" And what they did is they tried to ukuthi bavale isigodlo sakho so that you stop working, because this man apparently was claiming that I am who I am because of his work. Typical. So, but now, because they can't, what they're going to do is they were trying to kill me. Literally, they were trying to kill me, guys. And he said, you get so tired where it's difficult to open your eyes, which was very true. And one day you won't be able to open your eyes. Oh my God. And I remember I was with my mom and my dad and Nkulu, and my mom cried and said to me, I've been telling her that her tiredness is abnormal. Actually, as I speak, my eyes become quite teary, because some of the things that we endure and encounter in life, we have to come out and share our stories. People will not believe the things we had to endure to get to the places that we are in, because it's so easy for people to see people there shining, growing, succeeding, not understanding some of the hurdles and the fires that were set to destroy them, how actually those fires became an inferno that they catalyzed and became alchemists and rose above the flames, and they became golds instead of being burnt ashes, right? People don't understand some of the things we face, especially as Izangoma as well, especially as Abokobela, the dangers we put ourselves in the name of initiating other people, because it's that hectic. I mean, actually, I blocked the person because when I post, I don't know them. Even the person says I saw in 2020, which is a typical narrative of people who are disgruntled with me for their own reasons. And one thing I've realized is that people come to me because and expect me to pull a Kokodineo in their life. And I'm not God, guys. I'm not a God. I'm an activator. And if things on your other end are not ready to be activated, I can't force it, And this guy basically was saying, yeah, I tried to steal. I'm telling Zabandu. That nonsensical stuff that always goes on. And I read it, and for the first time reading a negative thing about being called a witch, I wasn't, because that was a sign that I have healed from that, because people, Uti, how what it takes ukuyothwala ngomunye umuntu, and angeke uthwale ngomuntu who is beneath you. You need to uthwala ngomuntu because you are wanting to step to their level. That's what would happen. But angeke uthwale ngomuntu ungana access yamadlozi wakhe. How would you have access yedlozi lomuntu if you are not connected to that bloodline? So if that because they need to grant you permission, you also need to grant that person permission. So to conclude the story, so that's when I please don't ask questions. You can make comments, no questions at the moment. Apelele, hold on your question, because there's no how you get rid of Slani that's gonna be done as a DIY on a teaching like this. There's no way, because there's different types of Isilwani. Let me pause on that. I'll get onto that so I'm not losing my train of thought. So fast forward to that. Then this guy said to me, when I was pregnant, said, you've been shown how to actually uti uzohamba. How are you going to conquer and overcome attacks, right? And I was like, yeah. Now I had a dream when I was pregnant with Samgelisiwe, and that was in 2012. where this man showed me and he said this and he said it's time. I was like, no, no, no. That's me now. I was peace, love, and light, guys, all the time. I was like, it was this of my mom. It was this of my mom. And he said, you're gonna die. And my mom was like, no, you gotta do something. And I did something, and immediately after Insebenzo, guys, my energy levels were back. Let me tell you the audacity of this woman. At the graduation of this other initiate, you know that they came with that healer. They came even after everything they done. And remember, she left. She didn't complete, and now she calls herself a registered sangoma. And I'm like, all right, okay. There's a lot of those. Abo know it all on social medias. There are scandals, and the ones who are in the front line of being activists of Ubungo, they've got scandals, guys. So, and then I got back. So what I'm saying to you, if you've been listening, sharing the 3 experiences, there's more, guys, but I'm just going to share the 3 experiences. The 3 experiences, one thing is that no one is immune to a spiritual attack, including us, Abattoir. Even when you've had some spirit protection, you still can be attacked. What makes one vulnerable to spiritual attacks? Firstly, is when your energy, your vibrations is vibrating lower. Things that get us to vibrate lower is a no or a very poor relationship with the spirit world. So when we are not in relation with our ancestors, we are like a tree that is not deeply rooted, that easily gets swayed by winds. When you are not deeply rooted with your ancestors, when you are not in a solid relationship with your ancestors, because remember, our ancestors are there to be many things, and one of their things is for them to protect us. But how do they protect us? Is that they will also give us warnings about things that are about to happen to us. They will caution us about people who don't have the best of intentions at heart for us. So they will do all those things. They will actually show us things about the people. They will also protect us by fighting off the attacks that are coming our way. However, when we don't have that relationship with them, it renders us more vulnerable. Are you following me? That's what lowers your vibration. Number 2, when you are under distress, right? So when you are going through some emotional turmoils and hardships, and you are not in a place of peace, you are not in a, so your emotions, there's no wellness within yourself. Right? So how do you know? Is when you are worrying, when you have constant anxiety, when you are complaining, when you are harboring unforgiveness, resentment, bitterness. Those things, they lower your vibrational frequency. So you vibrate lower, because remember, spiritual attacks are lower vibrational energy frequencies that are sucking into a life force. So when somebody is bewitching you, is that they need your life force for them to be empowered, for them to be in power, for them to be amplified, for them to shine, because they don't want to put in the work. It doesn't mean they are incapable. Rather than doing the hard work and digging and planting seeds, they would want to actually steal seeds, fruits of other people's labor. So when you are not guarded, when your tree is not guarded, meaning your temple, and is vibrating lower, then when you're vibrating lower, your portal is open to siphoning spirits, to spirits of those dark energy forces that are coming to take whatever there is of you there. Are you following me, tribe? Are we getting here? So these are the things that actually make you vulnerable. A non-existent or a not so great relationship with the spirit world, also your state of mind and emotional being what really happens, because we understand that the mind and the mind and our emotions are a very powerful body that we have. Because when you tell yourself something but you don't feel it and you don't believe it, it's still not going to come to pass. When you are emotionally off, right? When you are always complaining and are always moaning and because oh my God, the world is so bad, load shedding. We know load shedding, and we don't say we shouldn't. We should keep quiet and like, oh, peace, love, and light. But what I'm saying is that look, for example, when you wake up, it's like, oh my God, what a bad day. The whole day becomes bad. The whole day becomes bad. So this is what you need to be able to bring yourself back to yourself, because you're rendering yourself a victim of witches. And we spoke about witches, and we said these are not only the people who attack your bodies, because witches attack the body, they attack the mind, they also attack your soul. So they do those things so that they can be amplified, they can feel better, they can progress at your expense, they can do things that they don't want to work for those things, but they rather exploit others for those things. So the two most important things that you need to begin with as your basics is to be in a constant, healthy, solid relationship with the spirit world, ancestors, and creator, uNkulunkulu. Number two, make sure ukuthi emotionally and mentally that you are well, not perfect, but you don't stay too long in an off emotion. You don't stay angry for days on ends. You don't stay sad for days on ends. You are, because that vibrates you lower and that makes you vulnerable, because abathakathi are lower vibrational energy frequencies. I hope that's making sense. So when I say to people, forgiveness is giving your life back, I mean it, guys. Forgiveness does not mean excusing what people have done to you and actually having them come back in your life, but it's freeing yourself from being held at hostage by the things that they've done to you while they're carrying on with their life. That's what forgiveness is taking your power back, is reclaiming your life back, because holding on to those experiences is eating your life force, because that's what witches want, is to see you depleted and defeated, because they feel more pronounced, they feel more powerful at the expense of seeing you defeated and depleted. Right? So people don't only use imiti emibi to send attack, people use their words. People say the most horrible things about you. People do the most horrible things to you. People backstab you. People betray you. These are the closest, most trusted family members. These are the besties you've had. These are the colleagues you've had. That is witchcraft. That is witchcraft. When people are constantly saying negative and calling you names, the minute we tamper with this temple, guys, we are tampering with God. So when you are they're tampering with God. God's forces and must come, but God is busy doing creation. God is busy thinking, what are we going to do about the crisis of the imbalanced ecosystem? What are we going to do about the invasion of this planet? That's what God is looking at. God is a manager, senior management, right? Executive manager. So God has assigned guardians, angels, samadlozi, abangaseko, to watch over you. So if there's no relationship, then how are you going to get protected? That's the protection. And the mental and emotional wellness is also a key protection. Because you see, when what witches want you to believe is that you're a nobody. You're a nobody because you are an easy person to siphon from when you are feeling like mina maravele. Why do people still back lawyer but awusebenzi? Because there's still a life force in you. You still have a life force, meaning that your soul is alive. That's why you still are here today and you've woken up and others have not woken up today. So that life force, because those who are truly in the dark, they have no life force. So for them to exist, they need your life force. So do not grant people access into the most sacred aspects of yourself. This is your temple, and your sacred aspect of yourself, yila, your lower part, right? Where there is your sacral, where there is your solar plexus and your root chakra. So where there is your sexual organs, that's your most sacred part. Don't just give yourself to anyone and everyone. We live in a world where we are free to express ourselves in many forms, but freedom comes with responsibility, tribe. This is sacred, both to no matter what your gender is, do not give that, because that's how witches can also siphon. Remember what I said earlier on. I said, Guinea. And thank you guys for the likes. Please remember to like, subscribe, put the notification button on. What I said to you, that initiate went and had a relationship with a man I've already had a sexual relationship with. So already I have granted that man access into my physical space. So whatever that they needed to do, he had, because no one can actually do things to you without having access to certain sacred. The other sacred space is here and here, your thoughts and what is in your heart. So people will do things to you, will say things about you to get you to vibrate and step to their level. Remember, pigs enjoy playing in the mud. So when pigs are enjoying to play in the mud, they will want to be muddy with you and drag you to their level, and you are not a pig, so you won't be able to play with them. You won't be able. You won't be able to survive the mud. You'll be eaten alive in the muddy grounds because you're not one of them. But they will play with you emotionally and mentally to drag you to their level so they can siphon the life force. Right? So what are we talking about? Things that people, I mean, we see it now, the most horrible things people say to people without even knowing them from a bar of soap. When people start to say, yeah, Blazumubi, look, stop talking, go and do this, stop saying this, I bet those teeth are whatever, is to drag you to their level. When people troll people on social media, that's witchcraft. Hey. Hey, hey, wow. Kuvuka abanye abantu namhlanje. Kuvuka abanye abantu, guys, because you see, the thing is that there is something when people, attack you mentally and emotionally that keeps you into a mental instability, state of mental havoc. Because once somebody gets your mind and your heart, guys, go rough. Because what I've seen with patients I've worked with who've experienced witchcraft, we can do the cleansing, protect you, and you can see you are protected. But because they've instilled fear of them, if you don't heal the mental and emotional body, the portal opens again. And this time it's not that person. This time it's another neighbor. This time it's another friend. Because if you don't heal fully from an experience, it will reoccur because you have not learned the lesson. When it reoccurs and you've learned the lesson, it's for your growth, because you will see that, no, I've learned my lesson, so this is for growth. I hope you are following me, tribe. I hope you are feeling this teaching. I hope it's making sense. I hope it's useful. That's true, Lerato. You thought witchcraft is only using muti, but hearts and evil words. Kibuloi, bare pelu iloya ufita skar. Inhliziyo ithakatha ukundlula umuthi. Bathi inhliziyo yomuntu igayibozi. But no, umama kubambe ngenhliziyo. Guys, that is witchcraft. Right? Because the fact that people start holding things against you, wishing ill against you, and when you are thriver, when are you still continuing? Then that's the next level. By the time umuntu ayothatha umuthi, seka yi-platinum witch. Yes, a platinum witch. So seka graduated is actually sitting on the throne of witches, because it's now desperation. Because they've tried to say things about you. They've tried to, because you've seen even with toxic parents who bewitch their children to keep on supporting them, is that they break those children down emotionally and mentally before they start using muti to make sure that their child continuously slaves away, for their benefit. So those are the things. So let's speak about some of the things. So when there's been witchcraft, right, physically, when there's been a physical attack, what are some of the things that manifest in you that you could see? And please note that I'm talking in the context of this, and you would still require to consult to make sure what I'm saying is what you are experiencing, because I'm speaking of things in isolation of the context of your experience. So I used my own experience. One thing I know for sure, when there is an interference in my spirit, in my world, when somebody is accessing my spirit world, I start to feel extremely exhausted, unexplainable exhaustion, lethargia. Like you feel lethargic when you start to have nightmares, like nightmares where you are in the dreams, you do get attacked, right? You do get attacks. So where you are, when you are being chased by an animal and it bites you and it fights you. You can be chased by a lion, and then when it catches up with you, it licks you. That's not a witch. When it attacks you and brutally, so that even in the dream, you are actually scared. And in your dream, you are feeling things and you wake up sweaty, you wake up with scratches in your bodies. So when there's been a witchcraft attack in your dream state, your wake up state will give you evidence of the things that you experience in the dream. So, bovuga ngati you were being chased and being beaten, then you wake up with a bite or scratches in your body. Definitely, that's something that was there. You will feel a presence of an invasive spirit in the dream state, like fighting off things in the dream because they're trying to siphon you. You can't breathe. Oh my God, what's going on? You are experiencing sleep paralysis that you could see there are things, but you can't see. So when is ihlozi? At least you'll see a being, a presence, umkhulunyana. But when kuyisilwane, you will see, smaller nyala people, you will see aggregate spirits, meaning, izilwane, that's aggregate spirits, by the way. You'll see aggregate spirits, you'll see abotokoloshi. When you see those things, then you know ukuthi uyathagatha. And you know for sure ukuthi uthagathiwe vele. Because what happens is that your situation of misfortune accelerates at an abnormal rate. Listen to this. You know you've been bewitched when your situation accelerates at an abnormal rate. You wake up, you have a sore, you scratch it. In an hour, it's like this. 2 days later, isandlas vuvukile. Right? Because when it's medical, it develops gradually. When it's a spiritual message of your body being at unease with things that your spirit is asking, it grows gradually. But when it's rapid, at a rate where even doctors and your family and everybody's like, what's going on? 1 minute you just had a sore, the next thing it's an open wound, and the next thing is bleeding. Because the reason I'm saying this, sometimes people don't want to get the right kind of medical intervention and they want to say good batagati. I did say this on my Instagram to say people might actually have elephantitis and think it's elephantitis because you've got type 2 diabetes. Because people with diabetes, I mean, it's one of the most silent killers. It's one of the most dangerous chronic illnesses that we don't talk about so much. So let's rapid acceleration of a misfortune in your life situation is a clear sign of witchcraft. Right? So 1 minute you had this, it moves from you losing your job, your boyfriend, that's a warning. That is a warning, because more fanele ukuthi uyothwasa kuzolahleka le bese amaphupho also come ukuthi hey gogo wena unobizo, hey gogo sabela mntwana ethoko, sabela mntwana edlozi ngwana badimo bawubiza. It will come and it will be like this and that, and then you lose another thing, but it won't be all at once, like just the whole Eiffel Tower comes tumbling down upon your life, and you move from this to that. However, also people who've experienced acceleration of wealth, when they stop feeding the beast that accelerates their wealth, the Eiffel Tower comes tumbling down. Because so more if you stop doing and honoring your agreement to this thing, things will crumble down. But in this context, in witchcraft, is that you'll experience a dream and do. Now something happens, right? So let's give an example. Bakshang is trito, right? You start having a pimple here, you squeeze it, it's 5 pimples. And it's like, then you go and get something, it makes it worse. So it gets aggravated by an intervention that seems to be a solution to it. So for sores, for itchiness, for example, if you bakshang is treated because you can get unexplainable acne, unexplainable itchiness. When you're taking what seems to be relieving the discomfort of your symptoms, it makes it worse. That's a caution as well. I'm saying this because I need people not to also take this. We're not diagnosing, we're teaching here, guys. Don't take this and say, oh, mina bang shang is because then I'm gonna get DMs. Go, I saw your video and I think you have a. We can only know by consulting, because consultation is to dig deeper into the obvious and dig deeper into the cause of the obvious. I'll tell you, 2021, I started experiencing itchiness, like extreme, right? No, not extreme. Started being like itchy, then 2 weeks later, it was now itching on here, right? Where then it was inner thighs itching. When is it's not itching just here, it's itchy everywhere where it feels like, and I had rashes, and I actually, when I went to, then I had lethargia. Do you see? It wasn't it then 2022, I had lethargia. So that one, because it was gradual, it was a medical condition. I had adrenaline fatigue, and my liver was struggling to process the toxins in my body. So one of the things when you have allergies, it could be that something is not functioning well with your liver, because people can take allergies as like, oh, bangtangatile. So please, let's not do that. So acceleration of things, right? So when you all of a sudden break up with your partner and there's nothing, your relationship was steady, you were in flow, you were in sync, and then there's just this horrible breakup. And there's horrible breakup, and the breakup is also like the aggravation of it, it's goes down in a way that you don't know this other partner to be. You've been with this man or woman for 2 years, and all of a sudden, now vuga a beast in the house. And they actually getting aggressive, and they told me how they don't want to see me. Like, it just happens suddenly. Then you know there's an interference. Tribe, I've got a few minutes left. Let me take some questions. These topics can be series and series of things, but also be careful of accusing people without really, because it is called defamation of character, by the way, because you'll need to be able to substantiate your allegations. So let's take some questions. But one of the ways to heal, do not go and allege that usban manuk takatile. And when you are doing a releasing or a cleansing and want to send it back directly to that person, because what people in the dark too might use familiar faces to get you confused, because confusion. So you also see it with people who've been bewitched. They have confusion. So their state of mind is, so you have sudden mental disturbances, right? You were okay, and then all of a sudden, here you are displaying symptoms of schizophrenia. And when it's a spiritual attack, you could tell between a spiritual attack and a mental illness by the extreme and rapidness of a disconnection from reality. Whereas with mental illness, there is a gradual movement of it's one symptom after the other. Whereas this is one symptom, from one symptom, now umuntu sekakhuluma one, uyenza so, those things, because we know ukuthi emandulo, one of the most common things we used to see with people who have been bewitched is losing their sanity. So when you feel like you are losing your sanity, you're suffering from restlessness, you are unable. So I'm saying a few things, but I'm not giving you self-diagnosis. I'm encouraging you to stand up and check out symptoms, because it seems like something is off. And you know when something is off, even though you know you got medical health problems, but something, your body knows, like, this does not feel. This does not feel like it's normal to me. Then it's time for you. Let's normalize getting our spiritual health checked out, right? Okay. Like you see, now I'm like, I've got a little thinging here happening because I'm on my periods. I do get a little breakout. So I can't say, sometimes you just have bad skin. You've always had bad skin. So why all of a sudden you think, well, is but you know that your skin, because of hormonal changes also have our health and things turn upside down. Hormonal changes can make you be very aggro and moody because when your hormones are not in balance, then the ones that are off, they actually steal from other hormones. So let's be very clear. So when you go, it's important when you are cleansing. So there is basic cleanse and there is like the real deal cleanses. I'm not going to go into details, but basic is basically just clearing your field and getting on. And then there's the second tier of the cleansing is clearing the energy field, but protecting yourself physically, right? So this is, these would be basically if mhlambe bakushaya ngesichitho, but if bakuhambisa ngesilwane, there might be intense ones you might need to do because to detach you from this aggregate spirit, you might need to send it back to its source. Because remember, it's been forcibly been married with you. It's that you've been made a partner with something, because it's not someone, with an entity you didn't consent. So that entity has found a home and a partnership with you. So you can't just cleanse it generally. It might need a much more, we've heard of things like impinda. Impinda, when it's done, you do not call people's names. You say, "Gonko gubi, akubuyele la kuphuma khona. Bonke abangenzo kubi, akubuyele kubo." Because you are saying that which is not belonging to this temple, that which is not mine, let it go back to source. You're sending it back to source. Make sense? So, Ozama, let me take some questions, tribe. I thought, Uti, but you know how I teach. I thought, I'm not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps type of teacher. I am a teacher that wants to explain. There are different types, Lungile, there are different types of send to sender. There are ones that are you in an act of protecting yourself, but you are actually also doing what the people are doing. So yes, there's different. There are ones, but to return to sender, but it's actually an act of witchcraft. Rather than when you are saying, "Ngicela ukuthi bokhokho nabomkhulu, le milingo nale mililo ayibuyele kubanikazi." Na ini. The minute you are putting specifications, udineo ohlale Cosmo, akahambe ashayo imoto, that's not sending back to sender. That's not sending back to sender. I hope that's making sense. So you will also know, Bokoko, when somebody is making you get into things. But I needed to do, like I was talking about when I was pregnant with Siabo, I needed to do what I needed to do to keep me and my baby safe. I needed to do that, and it scared me because I thought, oh my God, let God deal with them, let the ancestors. But the ancestors showed me before I even experienced that, Uti. This is what you have to do when you encounter. It's like, angeke uti, no, peace, love, and light. Uzofaka electric fence. So when you're doing protection, you faka electric fence, and angisho bona bajwayele ukudlalela ejartini lakho. Nangu umuntu uthi bese uyayenza. So how are you're protecting yourself? Protecting yourself and your life, it's a priority. Tozan, guys, I cannot tell you what to do when you've experienced certain things. I can't give you specific prescriptions because I didn't diagnose you of that. I didn't say this is what people did. So I can't speak on somebody else's diagnosis, and I've emphasized this before. I can only respond to general queries of things. But when you say, Koko, so what must I do? Who said they did that? How do you know? You understand? And I can't speak on what you are telling me. I need to speak on my findings, on my diagnostics, because that is responsible. It's irresponsible of me as a practitioner to just follow what you are saying and I think. No, the reason we consult is I am consulting to seek the truth. Because some people think, like I saw another healer today, and when we looked at the matter, we're like, God, as in, yes, Ukobela Wako had her issues, but from the reading, this and this did take place, and the ancestors are happy with this and this. And yes, there has to be growth, and maybe the growth is not with your Kobela, but let's acknowledge the woman for the greatness that she was able to do, rather than focusing on the weaknesses, because that's how humans are actually now wired. Wuti, when something doesn't work with someone, we just want to think everything has been horrible, so we can justify our walking away from the situation. I've been through so many relationships, but I know they've been horrible, but I see the blessing and I see the lesson and I see the growth of why they were brought into my life. I want to say, when these things slept with me, I called out to God. God appeared to me in a dream and showed me my husband. I was married 6 months later. Okay, no matter. It sounds okay. I took that without without reading. Let's move this. I don't. Yeah. Uh, okay. Okay. Let me take this one. Is it okay to confront a family member who has bewitched you after a consultation confirmation? No, I don't advise it. I advise you doing whatever that you need to do to make sure that that family member is the one, and then get some emotional and mental work going before confrontations can turn out ugly. You can actually, you can be re-victimizing yourself and doing more harm to yourself than confrontation, because we don't see confrontations happening and you think they can actually be wild, and you can be putting yourself in danger. So I would say do the cleansing and ask the ancestors to confirm and reveal, and then the truth will be revealed, and find ways. You don't always have to confront your perpetrator for you to find healing, because you are putting yourself in a situation where you don't know what they're gonna do, and it can make things worse for you than before. Yeah. So also, Amandu Abafago Isloani is when you actually, uh, this also happens to people who've been sexually abused as kids and have blocked that memory from their conscious minds, where they will have sexual dreams. But that as well could be somebody or Hanjusan Isloani, where you actually are feeling like I'm engaging nento nayinto elala nami, right? Nayi angiyiboni mara ngiyayizwa. And even in the dream, you feel uncomfortable and disgusted, because moguislwani, it will be forceful and it will force its way. And then you wake up and you could see, like, then the aftermath is actually kufana nokuthi bengilale nomuntu. That is then you know ukuthi isilwane. To abataka to administer the multi-phase that helps people face consequences spiritual, very much so, very much so. Every time you temper into the darkness, you actually you yourself is cutting your own life force, right? And the more you cut your life force, it means light stops surrounding you, and you are surrounded by darkness, right? You are surrounded by darkness. And when you are surrounded by darkness, it means it also becomes very difficult for you to progress and have a healthy life, healthy relationships, because then people are afraid of you. We are sabega, we are tusa, they're things. So they do, even, and if you don't care, but at least care about the children you've given birth to, because your children will be the ones who are washing blood on your hands. They will be paying for it. They will be paying for your deeds. They will be paying for the deeds. Kuyisiqalekiso kuyinzalo yakho. Kuyisiqalekiso to your lineage. So that's why some people also have stopped doing African rituals, ukupahla, and all of those things, because people have also tempered with those things. So that's why I'm saying, if you guys have never done it, don't just go follow YouTube DIY videos. Where people have been, especially if your family have been very much against it, rather consult to find out what's going on. Okay, I'm experiencing that abnormal tightness now, and talking about pimples and a rash, I have experienced it last year. It all started as small and with mouth. I had big pimples all over my face. Ooh, get it checked out, beloved. Get it checked out. So I was like, okay, my boyfriend of 2 years, I've been considering that I'm cheating on him. What could it mean? It could many things. It could mean that he comes from a relationship where he got cheated on and he hasn't healed and forgiven that experience. It could have mean that there's been things that has happened that are making him uncomfortable. That makes him dream of that. It could also mean that somebody is playing and tampering with his dreams. Well, not with his dreams, because people, that world, for somebody people can't tamper with your dreams, right? Because they're tampering with God, they're tampering with spirit. So for people to tamper, you have to have been angazi. Something must have been completely disconnected from you. You must be in a deep state of disconnect, because people can be that powerful where they actually access God's world of your life. No, 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 no. I think we give people too much credit for what they're worth. I mean, who are witches anyway? These are poor souls, empty, depleted, that the only way to feel life again is by dragging somebody to the level in which they're at. What is That's sad, right? They actually are wounded, and it's a cry for help. I'm not talking about callings today, tribe. If you want to learn about callings, there's a lot of things that are there. No, I'm not talking about dreams. You see, now you're asking me explain dreams. We are talking about this, tribe. Let's be focused on the topic at hand here. You see, that's the thing, tribe. Ninjalo, ntanda ukuya le bese siya le. So what I can tell you, tribe members, in closing, please remember to like, subscribe, put your notification button on, share this video with somebody who needs to hear it. Um, you are God's child. You are a God's child. You were favored, you were blessed, you were anointed before you were even born. Ngesinye isikhathi, when you are getting all these attacks, it's because you've forgotten that you are God's child. And these siphoning spirits are trying to remind you that you are God's child. People can't take from you if you don't have. They take because you have, it's just that you have not recognized it. You haven't seen the power that you are. You haven't seen the force that you are. So, this is actually a reminder for you to step into your power, because in your power, that's where your light is. Because light fades away darkness. Light illuminated, there's no space for darkness to exist. So some of these experiences that you are experiencing is because it's coming as a reminder. Your soul is saying, wake up, child of creator. You're a magnificent, unique child of creation, divinely favored by your ancestors. So these peaks that are coming to play in your ground are trying to show you that you are sitting on the throne and you're sleeping on it. So in closing, I want to say that you are sleeping on your throne. Why would they be fighting you if you are a nobody? You are being fought because there is a somebody. And when people are accusing you of things that you know you don't do, what is it that they tried to do to you? And then they found what you've got an army of warriors standing by your throne, sitting next to you and saying, not with our child. Then they go saying, you are this and you are that and you are that. It's because sometimes maybe uyatagata. Bebatage ine bahlulile. Bebatage ini ebahlulile. So you see, this is what I'm ending with. Guys, we're not doing dreams. Come to YouTube, come to Instagram lives, Tuesdays or Wednesdays. That's when I do dreams. We don't do dreams typing down. I was talking about dreams of that are indicative. It's not a dream interpretation session. Let's focus. So you deal with yourself. And sometimes the best thing, the best medicine to yourself is owning your power back, is living your life to the best of your abilities is the best revenge sometimes. You don't always have to fight every battle because you've got an army that's fighting battles on your behalf. You don't always have to be explaining yourself because you've got messengers that are speaking on your behalf. Let your deeds speak for yourself. Let your work speak for yourself. Let those who truly know who you are be a testimony of the character that you are. So sometimes people do things to us to bring us to their level because misery likes company. Misery likes company. So what I'm going to say is that do the things you need to do to return to your light. Know what is it you need to do to have a healthy relationship with your spirit world, with your ancestors. Understand who are your guardians. Do not fear a human being who's got the same limitations as you. Just things that they are wiser. Just things they are more powerful because they can tamper with things. They just think, but they've got the same limitations, there is similarities you have with that person. So don't fear that, because the most powerful that witches do is to instill fear, because fear moves us away from the light and love of God. And from the light and love of God, we are rendered vulnerable. We don't have the protection of God and our ancestors. Because they know that in fear we are at lower vibration, but in love we actually are in the light of God. But in fear, we are actually away from the light of God. Because that's what witches do. They want to weaken your psychology. They want you to fear them. They want to, because in fear you can easily be manipulated. In fear you can easily be exploited. So when you are going to people who are instilling fear, without actually, when they say your life in danger, tell me what's going on. But you need to also know it. We go for a consultation because we know there's something that's going on in our lives. So yes, I can go on track. I don't have the luxury of extra time. I've got a client that's waiting for me right now because I do coaching. So I'm going to be doing coaching right now. So there's a client who's waiting for me. But all I can say, Modimo wa badimo ba rona a le sireletse, a be lesedi le kganya maphelong a lona. uNkulunkulu okhokho mkhulu bethu akabe yisiviko, anifake phansi kwamaphiko wakhe, anihambe anikhanyisela kudede ubumnyama kuvela ukukhanya. Mohambe waqina wazinza emasukweni nasesintwini nasemathongweni nasedlozini lakini, uyidonga elingatengantenge, uyisiviko uvikelwa abantu abangasekho monobudlelwano obuhle nabantu bakini. Ngoba even if ungaba uDinewo ozalwa uRamalebe, kodwa ongilwelayo abamazi. No one is that powerful to access my spiritual world except when I grant them permission. So stop granting people permission and access into your most sacred spaces. That's the barrier you need to create, because you don't know. So do not fear people who want to make you believe they are powerful, because if they are powerful, they don't need to go after you, because their power should be speaking on their behalf. If they are that powerful, they don't need to go salamraf, because things should be happening without you being dragged on their mat. So understand that they are not powerful. They can only be powerful by stealing, by looting, by siphoning from you. So who are they? They are just nobody's trying to be somebody's, because you are definitely a somebody that they're trying to be like. Guys, that's it for the night. Rewatch this, listen to it again, send it to a beloved person, give it to somebody who needs to hear the message. We are God. We are a physical manifestation of Creator. We were made in the image. Fear nothing. Say, greater is He in us than the one in the world.